So this is going to be hard. Like, we have been through the Royal Rumble 2025, so I actually think that we have more of an idea of what WrestleMania 41 will be in a couple of months. But I've made my list, and I want to do 7 matches on night 1 and 7 matches on night 2, because that's what WWE usually does. And I tell you, my friends, I've completely failed. Because at the moment, I basically have 10 matches on night 1. And 10 matches on night 2. So I've got a problem, surprise, surprise. And there are even some superstars I haven't been able to include. So, of course, I probably need some help here. Drop me a comment below, and together we can do it. Now, I don't know what day either is going to happen on, so we'll just go through the whole card, and we'll start with one which I think is now glaringly obvious. Jey Uso versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight title. I mean, now that we have seen it all come to pass, it makes all the sense in the world. That's why we did the Saturday night's main event. That's why Gunther afterwards was like, "You're nothing, bro, and I've beaten you 3-0. I never want to speak to you again." And we'll probably get to that match, and Gunther will absolutely destroy Jey Uso, much like the Sami Zayn match we did at WrestleMania 40, when finally Jey Uso takes his med pack, he hits all his moves, gets the big splash, 1, 2, 3, and I think it's going to be wonderful. We've talked about this on many other videos, so I don't want to overdo it here. But someone like Jey Uso winning a world championship proves that the new WWE is absolutely that, a new WWE, and it should give us hope about all of our favourites that at the moment maybe haven't have exploded. I will make a caveat here, but again, it's wild predictions before they do make sense. I have a feeling this won't be the proper main event. Now, that's going to cause insane controversy, but what I mean by that is I don't think it will close Saturday, I don't think it will close Sunday, but I think it'll be such a good moment we can move past it. But if WWE aren't doing that, and they aren't planning for Jey Uso to win, well, there was a lot of fallout, right? After the Royal Rumble, expect that times 10. And we'll stick with the other Royal Rumble winner as well, Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Absolutely. Now, I am recording this before the Raw after the Royal Rumble, so there may be huge changes on that show, but even then, I still think we're going to get here one way or another. There's multiple paths we can take. I've talked about this a lot too. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, Charlotte Flair winning, I know, as long as they do a massive feud all the way through to SummerSlam, and Tiffany wins match 2, and then Tiffany wins match 3, and then you can draw a line under it. I think working with Charlotte Flair is going to help. She's still pretty new in all of this, and also if Charlotte is going to be a mega heel and Tiffany Stratton organically has become a babyface, you can use these next 5 months to just establish that, and it'll be a huge show at SummerSlam, which of course in 2025 is a 2-night event, 1 night on Saturday, 1 night on Sunday. Maybe you could even sneak something in there that it is the last match on the show. I mean, I'm not 100% sure about that, but it's another one. I know a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, we should do Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. We have done that at WrestleMania. I just don't think we need to go back to it yet. Also, I won't name who it was. If you know, you know. If you don't know, it doesn't matter. Shout out to the person that was saying, well, we absolutely need to do that. It's a dream match, because they forgot that they did fight WrestleMania a couple of years ago, which is a bit bad, really, because that match was an absolute banger. I'm also going to throw it on the table. I think the main event of night 1 is going to be Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns versus CM Punk, probably with Paul Heyman doing a lot of shenaniganing. Now, you can say, why isn't the world title on the line for this if it is going to main event? Well, it all depends on how you look at wrestling. Me personally, I like the world champions closing a show, but then you can argue, well, the women world champions never close a show. Is that even a rule anymore? And I don't actually think it is. But you only do have 2 nights, and I think you would be hard-pressed to walk into my house right now and tell me that a Roman Reigns is not the biggest star in the company, and just below him are the likes of CM Punk and Seth Rollins. You could even argue that on his level, should you wish to. So if you were going to throw them all in a triple threat match, especially because the Jeopardy, who the flub wins that one? Because I can't see CM Punk pinning Seth Rollins again, but Roman Reigns rarely loses. Does Roman Reigns pin CM Punk, and then what do you do with Seth Rollins? Does this eventually sort of peter off into the Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins feud that we do need to put a bow on as well? Again, what does Paul Heyman do? Is that how CM Punk pins Roman Reigns in that match? Because the favor he's going to call in is, when the time comes, you have to pick me home in Roman Reigns. That would be a damn good finish, but then you can come back to me and say, okay, well, why is Seth Rollins in this at all? And Seth Rollins should be in it, but again, does the story better if it's one-on-one? It's such a fascinating match, and it has so much depth to it and so much layering, especially because we've got 3 months or 2 months to really build it. We will probably get to such a fever pitch the week before WrestleMania. Everyone will be going, we'll agree this should be the main event, right? And Triple H has said that before. He has talked about it's not about titles, it's about the stories that are resonating with the audience. And that done right with some of the promos could be absolutely wild. And the reason I like it from a nerd point of view is because it gives CM Punk his main event. Don't come in here and tell me it's not a real main event because it's Saturday. Times have changed and we have to keep up with them. And also it puts Seth Rollins in a spot that I think he deserves. And look, WWE just loves Roman Reigns' main event in WrestleMania. I think this could be his 10th one. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but he has done a lot. I mean, last year He main evented both nights, but he is one of a kind, and more power to him. Again, that would be a fantastic match, and I do hope we teased it at the Royal Rumble for a reason. And listen, we've talked about WrestleMania 41 loads of times. I never predicted this, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'd be very excited about it. I also think we are going to do the Raw Women's Championship match between Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. I think Io Sky is going to win the Women's Elimination Chamber match. That is one that I've dug my heels in over the last, probably 3 or 4 months or so. I just think she's the best option. Now, Bianca Belair apparently is in play too. If she wins the Elimination Chamber and takes on Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, I can't lose here. I either get Rhea versus Io on a big stage, or I get Rhea versus Bianca on a big stage. Both of those genuinely could be so good, depending on what happens throughout the weekend. They could steal the show. That's the level that I regard them in. And when a title is on the line, as we just talked about, it adds a bit of a secret sauce. The only reason I'm going for Io Sky is because I have Bianca Belair in another match, and we'll get to that in around about 42 hours because we have so many matches to get through. But I've seen nothing at the moment that doesn't tell me that Io Sky isn't going to be in that position. That could be why she was number one in the Royal Rumble, right? It's just, oh my gosh, the odds are against you. She'll probably be number one in the Elimination Chamber as well, but somehow she runs the gambit. She faces Rhea Ripley. That, trust me, it's going to be brilliant. Put my hair on it, it's going to be so damn good. And this is when things get so damn hard. Now, I'm using the Royal Rumble as my basis, and therefore I presume that Logan Paul, who of course will be a part of WrestleMania, whether we like that or not, is taking on AJ Styles. Otherwise, I don't know why he would have taken AJ Styles out the Rumble, especially because he did do it in a heel way. Now, I know that him and LA Knight were fighting each other, and I know that John Cena knocked Logan Paul out of the Rumble. Maybe we do that at a pay-per-view. I don't think it'll be WrestleMania. Maybe that's sort of a random one that we do, because I also think we're going to see that. But AJ Styles has been in these kind of positions before when it comes to WrestleMania. He took on Shane McMahon once, which is actually one of the best matches of the evening because AJ Styles is that good. I don't know how I feel about it anymore. It's so confusing. My main feelings at the moment are just I'm happy that AJ Styles is back because it sounded like that injury that came out of nowhere really hampered him. It's just he's only got a few more WrestleManias left. I have a little bit of an issue with Logan Paul. Once more, we've talked about that, but it's just a predicting video. It's not a Simon Wax's lyrical video. I think we're probably doing it. You have to assume as well, and it kind of ties into that, because it's when LA Knight and Logan Paul were fighting, where apparently we got some controversy, that it is going to be Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre, but just given because I can't find a place for him anywhere else, so please help me once again in the comments, I think it could be a triple threat match with Sami Zayn. Now, the reason I say that is because WWE, over the last couple of years, going back to the Gunther, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre match, loves doing triple threats at WrestleMania, and more often than not, we all walk away from them going, oh my gosh, that was a 5-star classic, 5.65 stars in the Tokyo Dome. And Sami Zayn does have beef with Drew McIntyre, right? Because he can't beat Drew McIntyre. And there's no reason why Sami Zayn can't move to SmackDown and do something with Damian Priest. It's just Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre, I don't mind. But I also understand the criticism of people saying, well, why would Drew McIntyre deviate so far away from the bloodline when that's always been his intentions? Well, we go back to the Royal Rumble. I think Damian throwing out McIntyre was meant to be way bigger than it is. And then Drew would go into his crazy rage and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that to me. You got in the way of me taking out Roman Reigns and the bloodline, etc., etc. And then maybe Sami Zayn tries to help Damian Priest and he keeps booting people in the head, right? That he doesn't mean to boot in the head. Maybe that's why we're doing it. He doesn't Damian Priest. That costs him something, and therefore you do the triple threat match. So that's a bit of a wild one. And even I'm saying it like, you're such a nerd. Where did that come from? But I finished my card and Sami Zayn wasn't in it. I said, well, Sami Zayn's got to be in it somewhere. So yes, right now, who does he have the most beef with? Drew McIntyre, so I'm just going with it. I also think it's going to be Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental title. I think that's probably the reason Becky Lynch wasn't in the Rumble, because we wanted to focus on the fact it's going to be Ivy Nile versus Lyra. Maybe we do that on Raw. Maybe we do that in the Elimination Chamber. I think it's pretty crucial that we do this, because at the moment, the execution of that IC title for the women hasn't been the best. And Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch obviously has history, going way all the way back to the NXT stuff they did. And I just think Becky Lynch being involved at that level, if that's how you want to phrase it, is going to help those championships. Again, this was in my last video we did like this. Nothing in my brain has changed. We keep on moving. Chelsea Green versus Piper Niven for the women's US, I think, is a lock too. I mean, not only have we started teasing it because Chelsea keeps hiding behind Piper Niven or quite literally running away, but it was Piper who accidentally knocked Chelsea out the Rumble. We're in a very interesting situation here, because unless Piper Niven is going to win it beforehand, which we should not do, you should hold off that match, I would have to assume that Chelsea Green was meant to be the heel and Piper Niven was meant to be the babyface. I think that's going to work. That's nothing on Piper Niven. People have just really jumped on the Chelsea Green bandwagon, but I don't think you can do the breakup and then Chelsea just retains the title at WrestleMania. That seems anti. But then again, once again, what's like Jey Uso winning the Rumble? Maybe if WWE sees the way the fans have turned, they go, you know what? We're changing a lot of championships on this show anyway. Maybe Chelsea Green can keep the title, and it would work. It's like a double swerve. You usually have the breakup and the so-called good guy then goes and wins the title. Well, here, the bad guy is now the good guy, and they just so happen to have won that belt when they are a heel. So let's just ride it through and do something different. As I would always say, until the cows come home, doing something different in wrestling is totally cool. Otherwise, it gets so boring. However, I do think this is going to happen. And what the hell the roles are, I don't know. I'm also going with the New Day versus the War Raiders for the Raw Tag Team titles, just because otherwise I don't know why we held off on this so long. I don't know why the New Day basically did nothing after a feud with Rey Mysterio, after they did the Big E thing. Now, it's a little bit of a shame. I could be totally wrong, of course, because it feels like you want to strike when the iron is hot. But if you are going to elongate this, and I think heels winning at WrestleMania sometimes is a good thing, as long as it's like the minor percentage, not the major percentage, because it's meant to be a feel-good moment. But I really do think coming out of WrestleMania, the New Day should be the tag team champions. They should win it in a horrible way, and they should defend it in a horrible way. They could even go on a bit of a run. This is why the tag team scene is so difficult right now. There's not a lot of options. I mean, I don't think you can go back to the Judgment Day anymore. But also, if we are going to do this, when do we even pull the trigger? It's only early February. We've got like 2 months. The SmackDown tag division, I think, is a little bit more obvious. But again, given how much TV time we do have in the interim, but it's probably going to be DIY versus the Motor City Machine Guns versus the Street Profits versus Pretty Deadly versus Los Garza. Hence why they've continued to do this weird merry-go-round where they all fall in love with each other and then they all hate each other. Now, the Street Profits screwed over those two of those teams at the Raw Rumble. So I guess we could do singles tags for a while. We could even do a triple threat if you're going to add 5 teams in there. But it just goes back to what WWE has done recently. One match usually does have multiple people in it, and you've already set this one up, so why do anything else? I'm still going with Bron Breakker versus Sheamus for the Intercontinental title. I know in that Rumble we've opened up about 46,722 doors, but I just don't see where else Sheamus is going to do this. And he doesn't really have a story at the moment. Like Roman Reigns threw him out of the Rumble. That was just because I'm sure Roman needed an extra tick box on the people that he had eliminated. And I just want to see Sheamus win that IC title and close the book on that journey he has been doing. Even more so because it feels like he's going to be working with younger talent for the rest of his career for the next 5 years. Or he may go beyond that, but he just signed a brand new 5-year deal. So let's just get it done. Let's sew it up. He doesn't have to hold it for a long time. Bron Breakker could win it back on Raw if that's what you should want to do. But by that point, I think Bron Breakker won it back like sort of like October time. He's basically going to have held it for like 8 months. So it's not going to be like a short run like he did after he beaten Sami Zayn. So I think we should just do that. I think it's a good idea. I got nothing against it. And again, I'm just such a big Sheamus fan. I want him to have his big moment at WrestleMania because, to use a stupid wrestling catchphrase, he deserves it. And with the men's US as well, I think it is going to be Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight. I think Shinsuke Nakamura will lose it back to LA Knight, probably at the Elimination Chamber. And I think on that show too, given the Royal Rumble, Jacob Fatu will finally beat Braun Strowman probably for the 1, 2, 3. And then given all the stuff we've done on SmackDown, we do the LA Knight Jacob Fatu feud properly, and Jacob Fatu will win. Now, I don't want to get into predictions just yet because we are so far out, but I saw some people going, well, Jacob Fatu has to go after Roman Reigns right now because of the reactions he is getting, but Roman Reigns is tied up. So let's just continue to build Jacob as much as we can do, and the next thing is winning a championship. And the other reason I want LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu is people don't boo him. They cheer him because they love him, but obviously LA Knight is super over. This one could create an earthquake. And who doesn't like that? Probably Typhoon, because they fell out. It was a different time. This is when we get to Bianca Belair, because I am doubling down. I made my thoughts clear, so I want to be right. And then I can feel all proud and be an obnoxious asshole. But I think that Naomi still will turn heel after we reveal this Jade Cargill thing, who wasn't in the Rumble, very surprised by me. And Bianca Belair will challenge her. And you do Bianca Belair versus the heel Naomi at WrestleMania. I just think it's different. I think it's new. I think Bianca Belair can win and then sort of escalate herself back into the title scene for the Women's Championship, because again, they're still the tag team champions at the moment, and don't worry, I've got that covered as well. But I just think in 2025 Bianca Belair should start climbing that ladder, and I think Naomi should too. If Naomi had a short title run at some point as a bad guy, I wouldn't mind that because it justifies it. But I don't know what else Naomi does this year if she doesn't go heel. And again, the benefit of being in a tag team for so long is that they'll feel fresh moving back into the singles scene. So I just want to see it because I think it would be damn good. So I put it down. And of course, I've got John Cena versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE title. We'll just throw it in here. And there's not much to say about it. I think John Cena will win the Elimination Chamber. I think that's why he was so hardened and angry about it when he did do the post-Rumble press conference. And I don't think he'll actually win at WrestleMania, so he actually could go on to win Money in the Bank, because then it's, he failed, has to try again, he wins, but he fails, then he wins, and then it will sort of throw it into the air. That's it. I think it will main event Sunday. I think it will be massive. I think right now, just because we are a lot far enough away from WrestleMania, we're not actually anticipating how over the top and crazy this is going to be. It's like two generational talents colliding. I'm very excited about it. I mean, maybe I haven't gone on about it enough to get that across, but trust me, I think it's going to be all time. Right, women's tag team titles. Should have done this the other way around, but I didn't, so more for me. I do think Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez are going to go on a run as the champions. I think they will beat Naomi and Bianca Belair at one point. And given what happened in the Rumble, because everyone's going, oh, it's going to be Liv Morgan versus Alexa Bliss. But I was going through stuff, and I was like, Nikki Bella has to do something. She didn't just come back at the Royal Rumble to hang out and play Nintendo. This is bizarre. Don't get me wrong. This is a strange old match. But when I was trying to fit the Tetris blocks together, it's all I could come up with. I think for the women's tag team titles, it could be Raquel and Liv taking on Alexa Bliss and Nikki Bella. That's all I got to say about it. I know. Get in the comments. Call me an absolute loon. I totally agree with you. I've also got Trish Stratus versus Nia Jax with Candice LeRae probably running around. I love the idea of this match. Trish Stratus can win because Nia Jax is bulletproof. It's a proper babyface taking on a proper heel. Just do it, man, and let them cut promos on each other. Genuinely excited. I've also got Bayley versus Roxanne Perez, I think has to be on the cards too. The only reason I'm a little bit not sure of this one is because we're doing that triple threat match on NXT this week maybe, or next week, but look, long before WrestleMania. But everyone keeps telling me that Roxanne Perez is going to be called up to the main roster. Bayley's an absolute legend, so if Roxy does beat Bayley at WrestleMania, I just think you're off to the races. If Roxanne Perez is going to be a heel, didn't feel very heelish to me in the Royal Rumble, although those two didn't interact at all, which is interesting. Point is this, if she is going to be a heel, she can beat Bayley in whatever fashion you do want, and you can do a mini feud there as well. But it's just a great halfway house, or gatekeeping, whatever you want to call it, to introduce Roxanne to the main roster. I also think it'd actually be a pretty good feud. I'm also going with Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton. Like, obviously, Kevin Owens is away from the WWE title scene now. Randy Orton has to come back. I would probably bring Randy Orton back in the Elimination Chamber in Canada. Kevin Owens is about to win when he gets screwed again, because that way Kevin can then double down on this whole, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Whereas, of course, Randy is totally justified because Kevin Owens tried to kill him. I just think that's a fabulous match. And I think on a stage like WrestleMania, it could be super duper good. And I want it. And sometimes when I want things, I manifest them. I also have a random tag to end off this total madness, but Rey Mysterio and Penta have to be involved. I don't think they're going to fight each other just because there's other two people we have to do, and I get this is messy as hell, but Chad Gable and Dominic Mysterio have this weird partnership when it comes to luchadors. Chad Gable hates luchadors, so you can figure this one out. I think it's going to be Rey and Penta versus Dominic and Chad. And the secret is I wouldn't mind it. Now, I've also got Jimmy Uso versus Solo Sikoa here, just because I'm running out of ideas. But I've also got Ludwig Kaiser, I've got Finn Balor. I'm sure there's a bunch of other people I haven't mentioned, but there's just way too big for a WrestleMania show. I'd imagine we're going to do a lot of these on the SmackDown before. I imagine we're going to do some of them on the Raw afterwards. But there are some people that you have to include, like a Solo Sikoa not on WrestleMania, which means Jimmy Uso is his only real person to go with, but then there's Tama Tonga. The thing with Solo versus Jimmy is you can introduce new Bloodline members that WWE have hired, but we haven't seen. But there you go. There is my WrestleMania 40 on card. And listen, we're all thinking it, so we may as well say it. Simon, this is why you don't book wrestling. But more importantly, though, I want you to book as well, so make sure you get in those comments below, like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is me talking about all the fallout from the Royal Rumble, which obviously ties into WrestleMania 41. If you are into fitness, go to grillermind.com/Simon. Use code Simon to get 10% off. All the description for that, my social media, Pro Wrestling Tees, TikTok, it's all down there. Please do click and support as much as you can. Thank you for your time. We are on the road to WrestleMania. It's pretty fun. It's pretty exciting. I'm having a good time. I hope you're having a good time too. And I'll see you in the week.